Many people think black people came to America as slaves, but you know, that isn't the whole story. Long before European ships arrived, black people lived in this land. We don't know everything about them, but we do know they were here. They were a part of the many tribes and nations that called this continent home. These early black Americans were connected to the land and its spirits. They had their own languages, stories, and ways of life. We can find traces of their presence in the archaeological record and in the oral histories passed down through generations. These stories tell of a time before colonization, a time when these black Americans lived freely in their own land. Their lives were intricately woven with the natural world around them. They understood the rhythms of the seasons, the language of the animals, and the healing power of plants. This deep connection to nature shaped their spirituality, their social structures, and their very understanding of what it meant to be human. Before the ships arrived, these early black Americans lived in balance with their environment. They hunted and gathered food, crafted tools and shelters, and created vibrant communities. Their lives were rich with tradition, ceremony, and a deep respect for the natural world. Their days were filled with the tasks of survival, but also with art, music, and storytelling. They danced beneath the stars, shared meals with their families, and passed down their knowledge from one generation to the next. Their lives, though different from ours, were full of meaning and purpose. These communities were not utopias, of course. They faced challenges, conflicts, and hardships, just like any other group of people throughout history. But they met these challenges with resilience, drawing strength from their traditions, their connection to the land, and their unwavering belief in the power of community. The arrival of European ships brought drastic changes. At first, there was curiosity and some trading, but the peace didn't last. The newcomers wanted land, resources, and power. This desire for what the land possessed led to conflict and violence. The newcomers brought with them diseases that ravaged the native populations, including the early black Americans. They also brought their own beliefs and customs, which often clashed with the ways of life that had existed for centuries on the American continents. These clashes led to misunderstandings, broken treaties, and ultimately to war and displacement. The newcomers, with their advanced weaponry and their insatiable hunger for land, began to push the native populations further and further from their ancestral homelands. As more Europeans arrived, they brought a new danger: racism. They saw the different color of the indigenous people and judged them as inferior. They used this false idea to justify taking land and even enslaving people. Black Americans who had always been on this land were now treated as outsiders. They were forced to assimilate, to abandon their traditions, and to live under the constant threat of violence and oppression. The arrival of the Europeans marked the beginning of a long and painful struggle for recognition, for justice, and for the right to simply exist. This racism wasn't just about words. It shaped laws and society. It led to the Trail of Tears, the loss of sacred lands, and the systematic attempt to erase the history and culture of indigenous peoples.